Ryan, looking at the damage there behind you, what could be done to make the buildings more prepared there in the county or in the city for disasters such as this?
Well, Taiwan has made huge strides in making sure that new buildings are better able to withstand earthquakes. But the big problem is that there are hundreds of thousands of buildings that were built in the 90s, the 80s, and even before that are not built to those same standards, not necessarily built with the best kind of quality materials either. And the question is how to deal with those buildings, how to reinforce those buildings, how to get private building owners to take part in the efforts to reinforce and improve those buildings so that they can better withstand earthquakes. Crews demolish a hotel badly damaged in last Tuesday's earthquake. 14 died here in another aging building toppled by the quake. Much as with the earthquake in southern Taiwan 2 years ago, only a handful of buildings suffered serious damage, pointing to structural deficiencies. After the deadly 1999 earthquake that killed some 2,400 people, Taiwan greatly tightened its building codes to match those of stringent and earthquake-prone jurisdictions such as California and Japan. But reports suggest some private developers still skirt those tight rules. And while the authorities have worked to make public buildings that predate the new codes more quake-proof, private owners are left to choose whether to act. Taiwan's administration has pledged to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to tackle the problem.
The laws are already in place. People in these older structures can apply to have experts come to their buildings to assess them. And if the building is dangerous, they can apply for subsidies to help strengthen them.
The Asia-Pacific region suffers the largest number of earthquake deaths, and levels of preparedness vary widely.
We do have great examples in our region, like Japan. I would single out as one country that has done a great job in seismic resilience and preparedness. What keeps me up at night is that many of our countries are not prepared. So I would say, for example, Indonesia, Philippines, we can do a much better job of, for example, making schools safer, making hospitals safer.
And as long as unmodified, decades-old buildings fill the skylines of Taiwan's cities, people will have reason to worry about which ones will not survive the next quake. And a professor at a leading Taiwan university has said that he fears that as many as 100,000 buildings in Taipei, older buildings, could be at risk of collapsing if that city were hit by a quake of the magnitude and type of the one that hit Hualien.
Yeah, now what's next for rescue operations for survivors have officially ended?
Yes, well, the building behind me, they're going to start to demolish it, and they expect it to take 6 days to complete that work. They're going to demolish it from the top down, still hoping to retrieve the 2 bodies that remain inside that building. And as you saw in my story, too, they're making big headway on demolishing the hotel that also suffered serious damage, and all over the city you see them patching up roads and bridges that have rippled. Now, tomorrow is the memorial ceremony for the 17 dead that will take place starting at noon, almost exactly 2 years after the memorial service that I attended down in the south in Tainan after an earthquake there killed 117 people. And there are still several hundred people, I believe around 400 people, in a shelter here who are likely to spend the Lunar New Year celebration not in their homes but in a shelter, having been ejected from their buildings because of what you see behind me and also the surrounding buildings nearby. They're fearing the collapse of that building could, of course, affect the houses nearby as well.
Yeah, hearts go out to those who were affected. Thank you very much, Rian Maelzer, joining us live in Hualien.